idiot!
It's just such a cool looking thing. Alright everyone, how are you all doing? Welcome along back to a brand new video. Now, it's a little bit of a different one because I did actually record a full video outdoors and everything. It was mad. But I've just come back from outside and I've got onto the laptop to try and edit it, and all my files are corrupted, so that's a bit bloody annoying, isn't it? So obviously that's really quite annoying, but what I'm going to do instead is have a chat with you anyway, because I think today's topic is a really interesting one and it can't go unnoticed. So while yes, I'm annoyed that there is no video from outside in the Caledonian pine forests of Scotland, which was the original intention, I did manage to salvage some footage, which is of these red squirrels. So enjoy this little montage. So it's not quite the same and it seems massively out of place, but hopefully you enjoyed that red squirrel footage. The video that went along with that was brilliant. I can't lie to you. It was going to be good, but you'll never know. Anyway, the main topic of this video today, and the reason why you've all clicked on this video, is because there's been a rediscovery. And it's something so interesting, because this rediscovery is of an animal that hasn't been seen by Western science for the last 140 years. And if you're asking me, that's pretty incredible. And I suppose it gives a load of hope to other animals that could be out there. 140 years. That's crazy. The animal in question is called the Black Naped Pheasant Pigeon. It's a really cool looking bird and you can find it in only one place, and that's a place called Ferguson Island right next to Papua New Guinea. Now the reason this started in the first place is because a few organisations pulled all their resources together to try and search for 150 different birds that haven't been seen in over a decade, and actually 20 of those haven't been seen in over a century, and this bird is one of them. Some people that were a part of this expedition to try and find this black naped pheasant pigeon were also a part of an expedition back in 2019 that were trying to find this animal as well. In 2019 though, their search wasn't that successful, although it did throw up a few surprises in the fact that they managed to find a few different animals that were on that island that shouldn't be or weren't thought to have been before. So while back then they didn't actually get the hit that they wanted to, they did find out some pretty cool stuff. But interestingly, back in 2019, they'd spoken to a few people that did give the description that what they were looking for was there, and that provoked this trip in 2022. So these people, they pulled more people together. It was a bigger trip, it was better funded, and they spent about a month over in Papua New Guinea in Ferguson Island looking for the black naped pheasant pigeon. So they got to the island and then they set about trying to find this bird. They were asking local people had they seen this, and not a lot of people were saying yes, and it was getting to the point where they were thinking, don't know what we're going to do, because day by day they were searching high and low and they didn't get any hits. But as they went deeper and deeper into the more remote parts of this Ferguson Island just outside of Papua New Guinea, then they started to get a few hits. Then they started to get a few people say, do you know what, yeah, I think we actually know what this bird is. And then they got to this one point, this one little place, and there was a person there who said, yeah, I've seen some a couple of days ago, and he managed to point them in the right direction so they could go off into that direction in this really remote part of Ferguson Island where it's very thick vegetation. It's quite hard to get there, 3,000 feet above sea level, and then they managed to put some camera traps down and they had to wait a few days. They still searched, they still had a search, they couldn't find it, but by the time they got back to their camera traps and they had a look, jackpot. They'd got the Holy Grail, the unicorn, the Bigfoot as they were calling it. They'd found a black naped pheasant pigeon. But not only did they find one black naped pheasant pigeon, a few kilometers away another camera trap was triggered and it was another black naped pheasant pigeon, which they describe as being at least 2 in the area, because there was no way that pigeon would have been able to get there in that short amount of time. And obviously guys, we've got the footage and the pictures to show you of this rediscovery of an animal that's not been seen since it was first described way back when in like 1882, which is just incredible, 140 years later.
Hit the side arrow. Doka? Doka? We get it! My legs are shivering. I can't believe it. God. Jordan, that's an owl.
It's just such a cool looking thing. But this is Papua New Guinea in a nutshell, really, isn't it? It seems like every time Western science goes out to Papua New Guinea, new findings are had, new species are discovered, old species are rediscovered, and there's just new information every single time. It's a really interesting place. And it sort of raises the question for other animals that could be there. Are there still some undiscovered animals in Papua New Guinea, or are there some older animals, like the thylacine, that could be there that we haven't found yet? But ultimately, the biggest take home from me from this is the indigenous people's knowledge of their area. Because quite simply, without their knowledge and without their expertise, this animal probably wouldn't have been found to Western science again. And I totally understand that there could be some animals out there that indigenous people know about that Western science doesn't know about, but you want that knowledge to be universal. You want everybody to type into Google the Black Naped Pheasant Pigeon and be able to find loads of information about it. So really, Western science in that way is really good, but most of the time it can't get to where it needs to be without the local people. And even the people who led this expedition into Papua New Guinea's Ferguson Island, they've all said the same thing. If it wasn't for the local people of the land, we probably wouldn't have come back successful. And I think it's such a cool thing, and I think something we need to talk about a bit more in the future. Surely there's different things out there in the world, like the Black Naped Pheasant Pigeon, where Western science can get involved with local indigenous people to try and find or locate some of these animals that could still be around but haven't been seen for a long time by the Western side. But now this pheasant pigeon has been rediscovered, it's now going to need a lot of conservation work, which is going to be led by the indigenous people of the land to try and keep it an extant species rather than an extinct species. It's mad, isn't it? I don't know, I just find this whole thing really, really interesting. It's the sort of thing I love. Obviously on the channel here, we talk about the thylacine, the ivory-billed woodpecker, Fiordland moose, all those sorts of things, and there'll be more in the future to come as well. So this sort of thing really excites me. I really like hearing about it, and when I hear this story about how these Western researchers went into this place and the locals helped them out, and two separate ideologies came together, all for the same one goal. Don't know, I just find it really interesting. I find it really nice to hear about, and when we all pool our resources together, we can do some really good things, and I really like it. Anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about today. I just wanted to drop that in there, tell you about this thing if you didn't already know about it. And what do you guys think about that? Let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts on this rediscovery and how two ideologies come together to create this final outcome of hope and success. I think the whole thing's really interesting, but you let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Sorry that this video has happened within this vicinity. The one I recorded earlier was much nicer to look at, I can't lie. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed the squirrels. There's been an animal rediscovered. How cool is that? Smash a like, subscribe for more of these sorts of videos where I'm actually outside, not inside. Anyway, I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.